Sure. Here's a continuous 1,500 word speech on the topic of making homemade fluffy pancakes from scratch, without subheadings or a concluding line. Ladies and gentlemen, today I want to take you on a delicious journey into the world of homemade pancakes, a simple dish that brings warmth, joy, and comfort to almost any morning. Pancakes are more than just breakfast food. They are little circles of happiness that remind us of family gatherings, lazy weekends, and the irresistible aroma of something sweet cooking on the stove. Making pancakes from scratch is not just about mixing flour, eggs, and milk together. It's about creating a moment of care, of love, and of indulgence. And when it comes to pancakes, the dream of every home cook is the perfect stack. Soft, light, airy, and so fluffy. The kind of pancakes that puff up as they hit the hot pan, forming golden layers with crisp edges and pillowy centers that melt in your mouth with every bite. So how do we achieve that? How do we move beyond the flat, rubbery, or dense pancakes that sometimes come from rushed efforts or boxed mixes, and instead create a stack that rivals the ones we imagine when we see those irresistible photos in cookbooks or menus? That is exactly what I am going to share with you today, step by step, starting with the basics, and then exploring the secrets to making them super fluffy. To start with, let's talk about the essential ingredients. Pancakes at their core are made from flour, eggs, milk, a fat like butter or oil, sugar, and a leavening agent such as baking powder or baking soda. Each of these has a role to play, and when we understand what each ingredient does, we gain better control over the texture and taste of our pancakes. Flour, of course, is the structure. It forms the framework that holds everything together. The proteins in flour, when mixed with liquid, can form gluten, which gives structure but can also make pancakes tough if overmixed. That's why one of the golden rules of pancake making is to mix gently, just until combined, so you don't activate too much gluten. Eggs bring richness, color, and binding properties. They hold the batter together, add flavor, and help trap air. Milk provides moisture and helps create a batter with the right consistency, while sugar not only sweetens but also assists in browning, giving you that beautiful golden color when the pancakes hit the hot pan. Fat, whether melted butter or a neutral oil, contributes to tenderness and flavor, preventing pancakes from becoming dry. And the leavening agent, most commonly baking powder, is what helps the pancakes rise and become fluffy. Baking powder releases carbon dioxide bubbles when it reacts with liquid and heat, and those bubbles expand, giving the pancakes their airy lift. But ingredients alone are not the whole story. The technique is just as important. You could have the perfect ratio of flour to milk to eggs, but if you overmix your batter or cook on the wrong temperature, your pancakes won't have that dream texture. The process begins by combining the dry ingredients in one bowl and the wet ingredients in another. This may seem like an extra step, but it ensures the leavening agent and sugar are evenly distributed before the liquid hits them, so the rise happens more consistently. When you pour the wet ingredients into the dry, you want to stir gently with a spatula or spoon. Lumps are not your enemy here. In fact, a few lumps are a sign you haven't overmixed. Overmixing creates too much gluten, which leads to tough and chewy pancakes instead of light and airy ones. Now, if your goal is super fluffy pancakes, there are a few secrets you can borrow from professional kitchens and experienced home cooks. One key trick is to separate the eggs. Instead of just cracking an egg into the batter hole, you divide the yolks and the whites. Mix the yolks with the wet ingredients as usual, but take the whites and beat them separately until they form soft peaks. This creates a meringue, like foam full of air. Then, when you fold those whipped egg whites gently into your batter at the end, you introduce an incredible amount of lift, which translates into pancakes that puff up tall and soft as clouds. This technique may take an extra minute or two, but the payoff is remarkable. Another trick involves the leavening. Most recipes rely on baking powder, but you can also add a small amount of baking soda if your recipe includes something acidic like buttermilk or yogurt. Buttermilk is often considered a secret weapon for fluffy pancakes because not only does its acidity activate the baking soda to create extra bubbles, but it also tenderizes the gluten, resulting in a more delicate texture. The tangy flavor of buttermilk also balances the sweetness, creating a more complex taste. If you don't have buttermilk, you can easily make a substitute by adding a tablespoon of vinegar or lemon juice to a cup of regular milk and letting it sit for about 5 minutes. This will give you a similar acidic base to work with. Once your batter is ready, the next stage is cooking, and this is where many people make mistakes. The temperature of your pan or griddle is crucial. Too hot and your pancakes will burn on the outside before cooking through in the center. Too low and they'll dry out and fail to rise properly. Medium to medium, low heat is usually the sweet spot, but the best way to test your pan is the water droplet method. Sprinkle a few drops of water onto the surface. If they sizzle gently and dance before evaporating, your pan is ready. Lightly grease the surface with a little butter or oil, but don't overdo it. You want a thin layer to prevent sticking, not a pool of fat that will fry the pancakes. When you pour your batter onto the pan, resist the temptation to spread it out with a spoon. Let it naturally settle into a circle. The thickness of the batter plays a role here too. For fluffier pancakes, you want a slightly thicker batter that doesn't run too thin. You'll notice bubbles forming on the surface after a minute or two. This is your signal. Once the bubbles start to pop and the edges look set, it's time to flip, and here is another golden rule: flip only once. Flipping multiple times deflates the pancakes and prevents that beautiful rise. Use a steady hand and a wide spatula to make a confident single flip, and then let the second side cook until golden. Now imagine stacking those pancakes high on a plate, steam rising, golden edges glistening. At this point, the possibilities for toppings are endless. The classic choice, of course, is maple syrup. Its rich amber sweetness soaking into every fluffy layer. But pancakes are also a blank canvas for creativity. You can add fresh fruit like strawberries, blueberries, or bananas, drizzle with honey, top with a pat of melting butter, or sprinkle with powdered sugar for elegance. Some people love to go decadent with whipped cream, chocolate chips, or even a swirl of peanut butter. The beauty of pancakes is that they can be as simple or as extravagant as you want them to be. What's also worth mentioning is how making pancakes from scratch becomes an experience that extends beyond just the plate. There's something about the ritual itself. The sound of whisking, the smell of batter meeting hot butter, the anticipation of the first bite. That creates an atmosphere of comfort and togetherness. Pancakes have this universal quality that brings people together. Whether it's a family gathering, a lazy Sunday morning, or a celebration breakfast. They're the kind of food you can make with children, letting them stir the batter or watch the bubbles appear before the flip, teaching them that food can be fun as well as nourishing. If you want to experiment further with the fluff factor, you can even try Japanese style souffle pancakes, which take the concept to an entirely new level. These are made with a similar technique of whipping egg whites, but the batter is cooked in tall molds or rings on very low heat, creating towering, jiggly pancakes that are as light as air. While they require a bit more patience and precision, they showcase just how versatile the basic pancake recipe can be. Even within the traditional pancake approach, you can adjust ingredients slightly to customize your texture. Adding a spoonful of yogurt to the batter can make it creamier and softer. Using cake flour instead of all-purpose flour lowers the gluten content and makes the pancakes more tender. Letting the batter rest for 10 to 15 minutes before cooking gives the flour time to hydrate and the leavening agents time to activate, producing pancakes that rise more evenly. These are all little tweaks that, Once you understand the science, you can apply to create your ideal pancake. And while pancakes are usually seen as breakfast, they can also be enjoyed any time of day. A late night snack, a sweet afternoon treat, or even a savory version with herbs and cheese as a dinner side. Once you master the basic technique, you can branch out into endless variations. But at the heart of it all is that quest for fluffiness, the magic of biting into something that feels light yet satisfying, indulgent yet comforting. The journey to making the perfect home-made pancake from scratch and achieving that super fluffy texture is really a blend of science, patience, and love. It's about respecting the role of each ingredient, handling the batter gently, cooking with the right heat, and adding those little tricks like whipped egg whites or buttermilk to elevate the result. And perhaps most importantly, it's about enjoying the process and the simple pleasure that comes with sitting down to a plate of warm, fluffy pancakes that you made with your own hands. Would you like me to also *** form? At this as if you're giving it a loud *** with pauses, emphasis, and natural spoken rhythm, so it sounds more like a real 1,500 word speech delivery